And here we go. Yo, Mark, eh? Let's have a little chat about what DoD expenditures you're planning and going to and having an understanding of what's going on. Let's talk about canceling the F-35 contract. Regardless of what the Trump craziness will do against us because we bought a less expensive plane that has considerably less cost attributed to each flight hour on a more robust frame that can handle our Canadian North much better, and whose bottom price means that with the difference in operational hours, we'll be able to buy about 130 Griffons for the 98 F-35s we are buying. That includes the 16 that we've already paid for, which I guess we could turn into a special operations wing. Um, we really need to consider it. First off, we'll actually be recouping a great deal in taxes from the fact that the planes are going to be built here in Canada. We're going to be able to scale up the technology from those aircraft and put us back in the aeronautics and aviation world that we lost our way with way back with the cancellation of the Avro Aero. Two, we need to discuss what we're doing and where we're putting new bases in the Northwest Passage. One, I think joint air base between us and Greenland would be make sense at the near the southern tip of Greenland, with both of us providing costs for construction and for putting our air teams in place. As well, we should put a second base uh, at Banks Island. Now, that can actually be a naval base rather than just a simple aircraft base. That will give us both ends of the Northwest Passage being covered, most particularly be able to patrol regularly into Baffin Bay. Uh, and it'll put our airframes much more north than traditional for us. So we'll be able to handle our current NORAD commitments properly in a more timely fashion. Uh, so I just thought I wanted to discuss those two things. There's a couple other things I'd like to discuss, such as maybe considering creation of a new Crown Corporation. That Crown Corporation would be something like Canada Armaments, whose sole purpose is to create the technology that we need to move forward, create new military infantry exoskeletons, create new versions of existing drones, uh, operate as a clearinghouse for all that technology. And as we begin to build it, we'll be able to sell it abroad to our NATO allies. Being more closely tied to NATO, which I know is already part of your process, would enable us to open a whole new arms deal for manufacturing here in Canada. The last thing I wanted to discuss briefly regarding DoD and DoD expenditures in particular is the submarines. I have actually looked at all the proposals, all including the damn Yankees nukes, and to be honest, the best bet to my eyes is actually going to be the South Korean submarine. One, it does have new technology, which does kind of put it at the edge of uh, potential issues and problems. But considering the problems we had with our existing fleet when they were just remodeled when we purchased them from Great Britain, I think that the South Korean bet would be a better bet, and that we can actually maybe enjoin them to have portions built and constructed in our own shipyards. We need to actually rebuild our shipbuilding capacity. Thinking back to World War II, the number of ships that we were able to turn out on a weekly basis, let alone a monthly or annual basis, was considerable. Now I can't even convince BC Ferries that they need to build at home. Part three and last one, I think it may be a good idea. We know we have to increase our spending, is to harken back to World War II and for that matter World War One, where we paid off a great deal of the initial costs and purchases of arms and military hardware and payroll, for even that matter, through the selling of war bonds. I'd like to consider maybe the federal government issuing peace bonds and selling peace bonds as a way to help rebuild our military to the point where it should be. I remember back. I mean, I know I don't look it, but I'm about your age. that Canada had a much more capable military. Uh, we were much more able to, within the world stage, function and help our allies and take on UN projects and peacekeeping operations, and our version of the Blue Beret was celebrated all over the world. In the last couple of decades, we've totally lost that. I would really think that I, as a Canadian, would like to have that back. So those are my thoughts for today. I know I'll have more later on. In the meantime, thanks so much, Mark. Eh?